of EdTech Monday. As usual, we are live on the City Breakfast Show. We are live on City 97.3 FM's Facebook page, and we're also live on MEST Africa's Facebook page as well. My name is Nathan Kwa. I'm your moderator for the session. Now, EdTech Monday is a platform for EdTech entrepreneurs, education stakeholders, and government reps to facilitate critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning. Now, the show is an initiative of the MasterCard Foundation's Regional Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in ICT, and is also part of the foundation's strategy to find solutions to Africa's youth employment by closing the gap in access to quality education and advancing the integration of tech in education policies and practices across Africa. Now, EdTech Monday builds on the foundation's Young Africa Work strategy in Ghana, with the vision of harnessing opportunities to shape the future of work and to create an inclusive economy with enhanced resilience for young people and the most vulnerable, especially women, by 2030. That's why MEST Africa has partnered. That's why the MasterCard Foundation, has partnered with MEST Africa to bring you EdTech Monday, which is on every last Monday of every month, like we're doing today, and it's live on the City Breakfast Show. We are live on Facebook as well. Now, this month, we are talking about bolstering growth for the African EdTech ecosystem, opportunities and challenges. Now, educational technology, or EdTech, has become very relevant in minimizing the gap in quality and access to education in Africa. Now, many topical issues affecting the implementation of tech in education have been addressed through several conversations, and one of them is EdTech Monday. So we want to make progress, and we want to figure out how to surmount the daunting challenges facing the African education sector. So today, we'll be speaking to a number of EdTech stakeholders who will share insights on what has worked in Ghana and largely in Africa's EdTech ecosystem. We'll also find out what more needs to be done to ensure that with Africa's growing population, the EdTech ecosystem on the continent is striving towards an improvement in educational outcomes. And who are my guests for the morning? I've got Olufemi Adeomi, who's Director of Programs at MEST Africa. Now, he's got 30 plus years of experience in tech, including executive roles in global firms across telcos, finance, startups. Femi holds dual MBAs, and his tech expertise merges with the zeal for using tech and entrepreneurship to fuel Africa's economic growth. Femi, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to EdTech Monday.
Thank you very much.
We also have Nana Jemfi Ejabo, who is the Executive Director, Center for Distance Learning and Open Schooling, SENDLOS. Now, Nana Jemfi Ejabo is a doctoral student in leadership from the Swiss Business School with a background in computer science, business administration, law, and publishing. He's an ICT expert and executive director of SENDLOS, and is focused on improving education through tech. Nana, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Our final guest is joining us via Zoom, Kate Radford, who is the Ghana country lead EdTech Hub. Now, Kate has 20 plus years of expertise in education, tech, and global development. She excels in multi-stakeholder innovations for complex challenges, and she integrates tech into education programs, highlighted by we can't wait to learn that's aiding conflict-affected children with math and reading. Now, recognized with UNESCO's 2018 Al Khalifa Prize, she supports Ghana's Ministry of Education for effective EdTech policy and data-driven decisions. Kate, if you can hear me, good morning and welcome to EdTech Monday.
Good morning and lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let me welcome my guests once again. Let me start off with Femi and Nana Jemfi, who are in studio with me. Now, we do know what COVID brought. COVID was a very testing time for everybody. It forced, students to adopt the home-based learning system, and everybody had to try and do that. There's been an increased demand for EdTech startups in Sub-Saharan Africa. So where does Ghana stand in comparison with other countries in the sub-region? Femi, let me start off with you.
Okay, I was hoping that because I know that some of the key innovations at SENDLOS was actually burst during COVID.
Okay, Nana, so let's hear from you.
All right, thank you very much for giving me this platform, and thank you to my co-panelists and the host. Greetings to everyone, your listeners, and of course, I bring you greetings from the Honorable Minister of Education and the entirety Ministry of Education and St. Louis staff.
Okay.
Yes, COVID came to our shores, and at that time, 2019, we had to be prepared to make sure there's no learning loss. So what St. Louis did was very important. We had what we call the iBox and the iCampus. The iBox is simply an offline learning management system, and the iCampus is the software version of the iBox. So that one is an online. So at that time, the country St. Louis give you the password and other stuff. So that is what St. Louis did during the COVID, and actually it's really helped out, and Ghana did not record a lot of learning loss, so it made it very easier for students to still gravitate on educational content and teachers to also teach. So we were able to keep the gap. Yes, the impact was very great. It affected Ghana and other places, but still, because of these two interventions, we were able to augment on that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Femi, same question to you. If you compare Ghana to other countries in the sub-region, where does Ghana stand?
Yeah. So COVID actually helped wake everybody up. Because for 1 year, many of us, our students, were at home. Schools were shut down. But also, it's opened the eyes of people to the alternatives to learning.
Okay.
And people started doing courses through like Zoom calls, using WhatsApp to share education content. I'm actually aware, one of my nephews, their school was sending content to them via WhatsApp during COVID, for them to learn. And we had to pay some little money for that additional support. So Ghana is not doing too badly. In sub-Saharan Africa, I think the leaders are Kenya and Nigeria. But Ghana is picking up really, really, really fast. I can count that I know personally 20 EdTech startups in Ghana. And I'm sure the real number will be like 50 to 100. Recently, the President's Award, I don't know if you're aware of the Presidential Award for startups, 3 of the top 6 companies were EdTech companies. So I think Ghana is really, really coming up. Ghana has a department, St. Louis, responsible for coordinating EdTech across the country. I don't think many countries have this.
I see.
So yeah,
it's wonderful. You just gave a bit of a snapshot on the EdTech ecosystem. Maybe you can elaborate a bit more, just from where you said what you've noticed. Just can you give us a better picture of how it looks like, or the current temperature of the EdTech space in Ghana?
Okay. What we've seen in EdTech, because we support startups. We've seen in our programs a lot of startups coming up in different programs that are doing different EdTech solutions. We have like Dext, that's manufacturing small devices for science set for children to use up to, I think, in basic school. We have eCampus also that sort of mirrors iCampus that so I come from a government part that St. Louis has, but eCampus is like the private initiative. We have Scribbleworks, one of the winners at the Presidential Award as well, that helps a simple tool using like Google Sheets for students to take exams online. And teachers set the exams online, students take the exams online. In a matter of minutes, the exams are marked. They have their results. So and then the teachers have the analytics behind that to see how each student performed. Not like you scored 90 out of 100, but actually which topics are you strong at? Which topics are you not strong at? So there's a lot. The temperature is rising in Ghana. This is is rising in Ghana. And just last week, St. Louis had an event, a conference where they had over 500 delegates. My colleague was there. He said there was even nowhere to sit. So the place was jam-packed. So the temperature is really, really rising.
Wonderful. Let me get to the Zoom and speak to Kate Radford. She's our third guest. She's joining us via Zoom. Kate, if you can hear me, what are some of the learnings we have, and what are some of the learnings we are applying from other African countries in building our own EdTech ecosystem here in Ghana?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of really important considerations that the Ministry of Education is taking along. And one is very much the importance of building trust along the value chain of the system, making sure that teachers accept new technology when it comes in, making sure that what is built is fit for purpose. And what we've seen the ministry do is really emphasize building up the capacity of local Ghanaian both employees of the ministry, but also the EdTech system, EdTech private sector as well, to actually be able to support that endeavour, because that also builds sustainability. It allows you to adapt over time, and I think that's really important. Another thing that we're seeing from the ministry, which I think is very admirable, is looking at open source materials, making sure that there's no vendor lock-in, that there's the ability to adapt, that you're building on what others have done potentially in other countries, but also in Ghana. For example, there's a lot of learning and teaching content that's being developed in Africa now, and that can be adapted by Ghanaians for the Ghanaian system, and that can add all sorts of cost efficiencies as well. We're also seeing a really nice emphasis, and we heard it from the minister actually last week at the CENLOS conference, on making sure that STEM is highlighted throughout the education system, and that over time we'll be able to further educate Ghanaian citizens and students to be able to play a role in technology, not just for education, but also for other fintech, etc. So I think there's really, really great signs there in Ghana.
Wonderful. Let me stay with you and find out from your own experience and from what you've witnessed so far, what have been some of the largest gaps in Africa's EdTech industry, and how can Ghanaian EdTech innovators fill these gaps?
Yeah, I think one of the things with technology, of course, it's new and it's a journey. And I think what we have been seeing, and it's come through in the UNESCO Global Education Monitoring Report just recently again, is that there's not enough evidence about what works. So, and by what works, it means what actually creates a change in learning outcomes, and what do you need to do, because technology is one component, but what do you need to do in schools? What do you need to do in ministries to ensure that the promise of education technology can be met? So I think it's been a challenge to have the funds and the time to invest in research about what works and to adapt as you go. Coming back to that theme, obviously connectivity remains an issue. And again, we heard last week at the CENLOS conference that the ministry is trying its best to look at that with local providers. But again, you need to use technologies that are fit for purpose and can be paid for and can be accessed by students, by teachers, by parents. So I think the connectivity is an issue. I think also procurement can be an issue. It is difficult to procure education technology programs. By difficult, I mean it's a complex product. So I think that's also a challenge. But I think they're all challenges that in Ghana are very well known, and that it's being looked at, and gradually over time, I'm sure it will be working in the right way.
Thank you so much, Kate. I'll get back to you in a bit. Nana, your thoughts on this as well. The gaps that you've seen or in Africa's EdTech industry, and what Ghanaian innovators can do to fill those gaps.
Well, that's good. And before I touch on that, when it comes to CENLOS, what we have done, just like he mentioned about the conference, that is the starting point. Now you could see that the euphoria, the height of EdTech has gone up, because they could see an agency at the Ministry of Education actually providing the leadership. You need EdTech leadership. creative leadership to lead the front. At first, you could see there was some sort of fragmentation, sparse. A lot of agencies and a lot of private sectors were moving in silos. Now you could see that we are bringing all of them together. So that is bringing the EdTech industry or ecosystem to that height we are witnessing. Now, when it comes to some of the challenges and the issues that you talk about and the gaps that we can feel, when it comes to EdTech, there are 5 key pillars that you need to make sure that it comes to shape before you can say that, okay, you can take your EdTech ambition to the next level. First is policy. There has to be a policy in the industry to govern that space, to make sure there's policy for teachers, policy for even the policy framers, and policy for students and administrators. Ghana has been able to reach a level that we have a policy that we are about to implement. In 2002, we had the ICT policy. It went under a lot of reforms. In 2015, we did a reform. Now we are working on a newness policy that will capture artificial intelligence, that will capture robotics and other stuff. So that is an area most of the African countries could also learn from Ghana. If they don't have, if they do, there still can be collaborations to learn what Ghana has done in that policy ambit. The other part is infrastructure. When we speak about infrastructure, we are talking about connectivity, data centers, and the digital divide, that is devices to use. If you are talking about ICT in education, when you send the content, students should be able to leverage on it to study, and they need tablets. Ghana is now about to introduce 1 student, 1 tablet, which is very fantastic. So I believe that is an area that we could also learn from each other in the African countries and other stuff. What Nigeria has done, what Kenya has done, what Ghana is doing, we all have to come together. So innovators in Ghana could also push to take advantage in that area. So when it comes to connectivity, as of now, we are 70% connected in Ghana. The 30% deficit, we still have to find means to collaborate to fix it. And that is an area that I believe innovators can also come in, not only from Ghana, other places for us to collaborate to fix it. Third part is content. The blood of online education is content. It has to be an EdTech content. It has to be digital content that could be used by students and teachers to teach. Teachers has to build what we call the techno-pedagogy. Teaching in class and teaching online, there's two different things. So you need to bring them up to be able to gravitate on the content. St. Louis, we have studios and we have masters to teach how to produce those content. So these innovators that we have trained, the experts, they should be able to go to the African continent to teach other people. Recently, Malawi contacted us that they want to learn from Ghana how we are doing our content creation and other places. So I believe people here or innovators can take up that gaps and also fix it. The other part is capacity building. That is training for teachers, training for students and all EdTech innovators. We need to make sure we give that training to the teachers to be able to teach online, to be able to do other things like I spoke about techno-pedagogy, and the teachers and even the students. And we don't leave the parents out. So these are the stuff we are doing. And the last part is assessment. Digital assessment tools is very, very crucial. So innovators in Ghana, I've brought a lot of them at St. Louis that we are teaching them. So now they know what kind of digital tools to bring out to assess when it comes to online education, because people believe in their mindset that the fidelity of assessment done online is not weightier compared to traditional classroom. If you receive your certificate from online, they don't really sort of, so assessment tools, we need to make sure we have tight assessment that speaks to our benchmarks, our robust benchmarks when it comes to our curriculum. So that is what we are doing at St. Louis. So we have experts that personally we train them all the time for these 5 key areas. So they can also go to other African countries and train them to see how they can fill the gap so we can achieve one vision for Africa, especially since we have Agenda 2063. Thank you.
All right. Great thoughts, Nana and Kate. Let's get a snippet. A few days or a few weeks ago, there was a stakeholder forum on the same topic, opportunities and challenges, in terms of bolstering growth for the African EdTech ecosystem. Bernard Avler was the moderator. And so we'll give you a few minutes, get the highlights, and we'll give you some critical takeaways from that particular discussion.
Maybe I'll start by asking anybody on the panel to give me a good example of a collaboration which is working, right? Not necessarily causing transformation, a collaboration which is a good case study for a discussion. Because if we don't know what collaboration is, there's no point in even proceeding further, right? So who has a good example of a collaboration that's working, which can then help all of us know what we're talking about when we talk about collaboration? Who wants to go first?
Well, everyone is looking at me. And who else in this room can better talk about collaboration than GES? Because GES has been collaborating with a number of institutions, including MasterCard Foundation, Big Win, UNESCO, and I'm sure your MEST. Quite a number of NGOs and development partners. And we've been doing a lot of things. And one example I'll give you is what we call the MSRC.
MSRC.
MSRC is Mobile School Report Card, which in itself is supposed to take data from the school level, student level, district level data. And we can talk more about the data later. If you want me to, I can take a little time of yours. Because in real time, I sit in my office and I should be able to tell which teacher is in class, how many students attended school today, how many students were absent. I should be able to drill down to a school and get that data. I should also be able to have that data within a district. I should have that data even at regional level. This was a project that we started with UNICEF, and then later the World Bank through Gallup also magnified it. So we're doing about 11,000 schools across the country now. We are hoping that we'll be able to cover the entire country. That is what we are actually working at, to scale it up to cover the entire 34,000 basic schools that we have.
So that's one example.
That is one
Let me
example.
ask Larissa if she has another example of a collaboration that's working.
Okay, so in my perspective, I think it's really important to have a shared vision and unified objectives as far as collaboration is concerned. And for us as stakeholders, it's also very important to align to anticipated outcomes. And especially where EdTech is concerned, how EdTech can lead to those outcomes. And so, I mean, I have so many examples of collaborations that have worked and are working, but I think I'll use the Leaders in Teaching program initiative that we are working on in Ghana. We started this initiative in Rwanda, and now we've launched it in Ghana in partnership with TTEL and with the support of the GES and the Ministry of Education. And it's working really, really well because we are coordinating and talking amongst ourselves, and I think that is really important. But what we need to do more of is to get the insights and perspectives from those stakeholders who are outside of the education sector. Because I feel like they bring a unique perspective to these interventions. So the likes of the Ministry of Gender and others that we usually leave out of the conversation. So yeah, I think so far we are doing a good job, but it would be good to have those conversations with the other stakeholders outside of the education sector.
So shared vision, unified objectives, and then you align the anticipated outcomes. That's very interesting. 2 examples. Any more to share on the panel? This is just, Tillman.
I would just like to add, because I've been reflecting on this, and even I think there was a notion in the notes given to us ahead of the panel on the culture of collaboration. And so I've been reflecting on this, in particular, assuming that, do you have an example on a culture of collaboration? And all I could think of immediately was a bunch of buzzwords, right? Where we keep saying, oh, we need trust, right? We need a shared vision, we need a shared goal, we need shared objectives. We would be seen at an eye level to be as partners. that we all have a contribution to make towards whatever shared vision we have. But you can see, even now, my statement, I remain pretty much at the surface level in just giving one buzzword after another. So I think it is then in the day-to-day, because as Larissa just said, in various forms, and the Director General, various forms of collaboration. To us, I think at UNICEF is I cannot necessarily think about a particular collaboration, because all what we do is collaboration and is partnerships. That's our daily bread and butter, right? We, by nature, to achieve our shared objectives, now in the education space, it is that UNICEF works and services governments. And we include a variety of stakeholders, whether they're direct or indirect stakeholders. But it's so much in what we do on a daily basis that I'm having trouble to find the perfect example. But yeah, their notions of, and allow me to say also, collaboration is hard work. It's hard work. And it needs also deep reflection on the way we do things. The way we communicate, the way we act, the way we even invite people and whom to invite, when and how to certain events, right? So I think if we have internalized this and bring this into our daily practices, we're on a very positive pathway.
You are set up to collaborate because you don't work on your own. UNICEF always has to work with different partners, so it's in your DNA.
The very sheer existence of the United Nations is actually that countries have come together to decide we form that body. So it is in our DNA.
Ethos. Wonderful. Miracle, any examples to share from your side?
I'll take it from the teacher's perspective, okay? That's how does teaching happen and how do people learn? That in itself brings about the issue of co-labor between learners and then the educators. Now, at the educator level, you can't conceive it all. You need the best resource for a teacher is a colleague teacher. Now, for you to make impact in your in your teaching, and then for the student to achieve more, you need to collaborate. You need to share with your colleague teacher what is working in your classroom that I can adapt to improve the learning outcomes for the children I'm handling. Now, the very essence of that led us to look at how can we bring teachers together to have these conversations on a daily basis, looking at how teaching is happening, how the children are responding to this learning activity. So that was how we started. And it got to a point where we thought that, well, teachers are having these conversations ordinarily among themselves. What if their employer endorses this kind of conversation among teachers where they are discussing issues that affect teaching, issues that affect learning in their schools? So to the point we approached GES, and then GES gave us the endorsement, and then wrote to all the regional education office, to the district education office. As we speak right now, GES is having an activity in Cape Coast with teachers. Now, that only happened because we have the collaboration with GES, and then GES allows us to bring the teachers together to have this meaningful day of conversation that are looking at the impact they're making in the schools and in the classrooms.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, since you've all shared examples, I have an example to share. EdTech Monday is a great collaboration. We were sat somewhere, and then we got a call from, I'm not sure whether it was MasterCard or MEST, but somebody called and said, there's this thing they want to do, and they think we are the right radio station to do it. So we came in late, right? Because I think MasterCard had spoken to MEST already. I stand to be corrected. And they had a fuzzy idea about, they wanted a media partner. But I'm not sure they were very clear what type of show they wanted to create. But at least they needed to do a radio program. And I think, I don't know, over a year it's been working. Because almost every week or every month we have meetings. And the program has been improving on its own. As in, we've been changing things. So I think that EdTech Monday is a great example of collaboration. Now, you've mentioned the MSRC, and you've mentioned the leaders in teaching. My next question will be, what areas of collaboration do we think we need? Because we all understand what collaboration is now, and we know who the stakeholders are, right? Government is a stakeholder, which is you. Development partner stakeholder, which is you. I don't know, are you a development partner? Or you are, what are you? Or you are, Because you are a stakeholder, Miracle. You are government. You are development partner. You are development partner? Right, wonderful. So, what areas of collaboration do we think we need? By areas, I'm talking of emphasis. Is it teaching, technology adaptation, data? There's so many things. Media, advocacy in parliament. What areas do we think we need to really drive collaboration to achieve? Because in this room we have energy. We know what we want to achieve. We need a policy framework. We need a voice in parliament. We need a champion in government. So from GES perspective, give me one or two areas that you seriously think that there's opportunity or a gap for collaboration to bring transformation.
Thank you, Bernard. From GES perspective, I think our vision is already cut out and spelled out in the Education Strategic Plan 2018 to 2030, where we seek to whip up the desire and competencies in the children, the early child, in how to use ICT in learning. Mm-hmm. Again, we also want to equip all our pre-tertiary students, right from the primary school, GHS, up to SHS, with skills in digital literacy. Mm-hmm. We are also expected to use ICT for education management and administration. And then you would also take the last one, which is ensuring that we develop teachers in digital literacy, and then helping also teachers to use technology or EdTech in their teaching and learning. The whole idea is to ensure teaching and learning to go on, because our job is to give quality teaching and learning to our Ghanaian children. So for us to be able to do that, it's important that we spell out this vision, and that is what has been our guiding principle. How do we do that? Most of these things that I've mentioned are things that we would need to partner with MDAs, right? Ministries, departments, and agencies, other stakeholders, like even the teachers in there. You said they are great stakeholders. We need to consult them. We need to co-create most of the things that we're going to do with them. The NGOs, the EdTechpreneurs, the development partners. We need to, yesterday a question was asked here. Someone was saying that they need to have access to GES. They go to the district or an entire school and they are not allowed. We have a focus. We have a vision. And for you to collaborate with us, we need to understand what you want to do to help the Ghana's education system is in line with the vision spelled out in Education Strategic Plan.
Just hold on. You've mentioned 4 things. So I just want to be clear, understand the 4 things you mentioned. You said, number 1, early childhood, getting children to want to use ICT.
Yes.
Then you also said pre-tertiary students engaging with technology.
We are equipping them with
the tools and the
skills.
Then you said number 3 is using ICT in your
education management
and
administration,
which was the example you gave. So
yes.
the MSRC.
Thank you.
Then the 4th one is getting the
teacher development.
Themselves.
Exactly.
So those are your top 4.
Those are the areas that we look at. So whatever you are doing
must fit into one of those 4.
Thank you very much.
Is that how you also see the sector? Do you see the sector in those 4 big blocks?
Yes, but I wanted to emphasize on two points, since you asked for 2.
Yeah.
So aside from collaborating cross-sectorally,
okay,
I think it's really important to involve the stakeholders that we often forget about, who are actually the most important stakeholders in all of this. And they are the ones directly impacted by whatever transformations we make in the education space. So I'm talking about the teachers, students, parents, local communities. It's very important that we get their insights and perspectives while we are collaborating. The second point I'd like to emphasize is our commitment to evidence-based decision-making. At the MasterCard Foundation, all our interventions are designed based on data and research. And so it's really, really important that we think through how we use data appropriately to design our interventions or in our collaborations. So for now, I will leave it at that, but I'm happy to share more about data because data can be very challenging. It's a complex issue that I'd like to touch on and then probably get their perspective on as well.
I'll give you the chance to do that because you also...
So that was those were some highlights and some critical takeaways from the stakeholder forum put together by the MasterCard Foundation and MEST and major stakeholders in the EdTech space. Of course, the conversation was moderated by Bernard Avle and was on the same topic we are discussing this morning, bolstering growth for the African EdTech system or EdTech ecosystem, opportunities and challenges. My guests are still here with me. They haven't gone anywhere. They're still in the studio. Olufemi Adeomi, who's director of programs at MEST Africa. Nana Jimfi Ijabo, executive director of Sendlos, and Kid Radford, who's the Ghana country lead EdTech Hub. She's joining us via Zoom. My guests, thank you for staying with me. My next question is for Nana, Jimfi, and Kate. So I think let me speak to Nana first, and then we'll get to the Zoom. So let's talk about the other challenges that are facing the EdTech ecosystem in Ghana. Maybe you can share some light on that. And how do we position ourselves as a country to take advantage of the opportunities in this space or in this ecosystem?
All right. Thank you for that question. I think firstly, I'll look at the challenges that is facing EdTech in Ghana, and it could be Africa as a whole. One is we need that policy I spoke about. Okay. But policy comes under EdTech leadership. We are very fortunate to have the minister, Honorable Minister for Education, who knows the importance of EdTech. So we are in Ghana, we are gravitating towards something very positive because of his leadership. And of course, the setup of Sendlos. If you look at other countries, you don't have any setup as an agency as Sendlos there. You know, what we do is we serve as the catalyst for EdTech. So we drive the space. So that is really helping Ghana to some sort of degree. And with the policy bit, when I said it, leadership is needed there. So you could see that we are working on our policy to certain level. It's about to be implemented. Okay. Of course, it has to go through Parliament and Cabinet, then we'll implement that. The other part that has been a challenge is the connectivity. Okay. That has been an issue, not only in Ghana, but the continental as a whole, African continent, because when it comes to connectivity, there's still gaps. It's only maybe South Africa that I know they launch a project, SA Connect, that they are close to 99 or some percent close to achieving that. But other countries, you could see Ghana, we are at 70%. I believe that we can come together. There is still some areas, opportunities there for stakeholders, the private sector, the public sector, the industry, the academia, the telcos to come together and jump on those opportunities, because they can do what we call the infrastructure sharing, whereby people can share. Telcos like MTN and Airtel, Tigo, and other people, they can come together and do infrastructure sharing. And of course, the public sector should also be able to work with the private sector. So the infrastructure or the connectivity part has been an issue for EdTech. And of course, content. Sendlos, we produce content, but you could see there's still gaps in the content. Right now, we have some content, but we don't have all. So I believe there's still an opportunity. It's been a challenge, but it's an opportunity for stakeholders to come together to support SENLOS to produce content for EdTech. So that is one key area we should also look at. And also, if you look at the curriculum, that is also a challenge anywhere. When we talk about curriculum, your curriculum should be able to support your EdTech initiatives.
Okay.
If the curriculum does not support it, you have an issue. Here is the case that we have iBoxes and iCampus and other stuff. If the curriculum don't support the usage of EdTech in our campuses, then you install iBoxes and it will be lying down without being used. So the curriculum should be able to support that. So Ghana, as we speak, SENLOS is working with NACA to see how we can improve on our curriculum. At first, it used to be objective-based. Now we are moving to standard-based curriculum, whereby we will make sure that we will allow students to use ICT in schools. We will use EdTech solutions in schools. So curriculum is also an area that we have to look to see how we can make sure it reflects on EdTech solutions. And the last part, again, is capacity building. Teachers, every stakeholders in the industry has to receive training. But for now, let me leverage on three. The teachers is the first, and the students, then parents. We don't have to leave the parents out. Some countries or some places on the African continent, they introduce EdTech solution, leaving the parents out. They could see that the results were kind of being dwindled. So after research, they could see that they needed the parents to be part of the ecosystem. Ghana, we believe in that. So we know that once we give the training to teachers, we should give the same training to students and, of course, parents. Parents should be part of the whole ecosystem. They should be able to log on into the system to see what is going on. So if you come to SENLOS, all our learning management portals, since I assume as the CEO, I've created that communication path between teacher, student, teacher, parents to be able to link up. So parents understand what is going on. They know what is going on. They can communicate. Yes, when they log on to their portal, they wouldn't see what a teacher see. The student wouldn't see what a teacher see, but everyone have their portal. So they could be able to see what is going on. So they're not being left out. So these are the areas that I want us to look, and it's provide an opportunity for every EdTech innovator in Africa, especially in Ghana, to jump on it to create more newness in the industry, so we all can achieve the goal we are looking for in EdTech, especially when SDG 4 agenda talks about equity, quality, and access in education. We want to improve on that. So every child, irrespective of location, should have access to quality education, irrespective of your disability. So SENLOS is working with persons with disability and any area or facet of our educational system. We don't leave the TVET and the complementary education out. Thank you.
All right. Let me get to the Zoom. Let me get Kate's thoughts on this same question. Other challenges facing the EdTech ecosystem, and how does Ghana position itself to take advantage of the opportunities that lie in that ecosystem?
Okay. I mean, I think the director of SENLOS has covered a lot. He's covered policy, connectivity, content, curriculum, capacity building. I think he also touched on what I think is a very important point, which is this deadline of 2030, the need for equity, equality, and access. And I think what that does for Ghana and a lot of African and countries and also countries in Latin America, Asia, and in Europe, it adds this urgency at the same time as having an accountability. And I think the biggest challenge for ecosystems in Ghana is to say, how do we reach this very tight deadline, but in a way, as Nana has been talking about, that we actually get the adoption of this new technology. So as Nana said, that we actually make sure that there are not iBoxes and etc. sitting there not being used, to make sure that parents are part of the education system. One of the most important things about for basic literacy and numeracy, if you want to have really good results, is the engagement of parents. So I think this whole emphasis on the urgency of getting change and improving learning outcomes, plus very heavy emphasis on wanting to invest accountably, wanting to be able to share your results with your own citizens, but also with those who have supported the process. And one of the things that I can see that the ministry is doing is building on what the Director General of the Ghana Education Secretariat was talking about in the excerpts that we listened to, is bringing all of this data together within the ministry in the accountability dashboard, it's called. And that's where all the agencies across the ministry are working together so that we can actually show parents, what are the results of your children, actually help them to get engaged, show teachers. So I think it's really this, and I mean, people like Nana have really taken on this burden. I'll call it a burden, but it's also an opportunity and a responsibility of reaching, of actually responding to this so that we can reach the goals of 2030.
All right, Kate. Thank you so much. Femi, let me get to you. You get, I think, the last question because we need to play a Vox because of time. What does the future look like? For Africa, for Ghana, so when we talk of EdTech and related matters?
I think the future is bright, but we need to also, everything we've discussed now is focused more on what the government is doing. But we need to focus, also move away from that mindset of being recipients of solutions to this problem, and then also now become part of the solution. For example, I would like to challenge parents. There are already a whole lot of EdTech solutions out there. On YouTube, there are content. I've seen Ghanaian content on YouTube teaching mathematics. There are many Ghanaian EdTech startups and apps on the Google Play Store or iPhone Apple Play Store. So they're all there. Parents should also now take the initiative. They already have smartphones. Even if you don't want to give your child a smartphone for themselves, they can use your own smartphone. So download these apps, download iCampus, download eCampus, download the Scribbleworks app, download, all the apps that carry the Ghanaian content, and even that carry more global content that also is supported in Ghana, because maths is maths really anywhere in the world, right? Download those apps. Use go to Google. Use like Khan Academy. It's all there. Resources to help your children, because we parents have that first responsibility for our children. Also, for students, don't wait for the government. The information is out there. Many of you can already afford video, can afford data. You watch YouTube, watch Facebook and things like that. I know some telcos are given access to some sites on free data access to some sites like Facebook. And on Facebook, their content being delivered. So students also should just go online and search for the content and use the solutions that are out there. Don't wait and say until the government does something for me, because we really are the drivers of the change. Then for teachers, a lot of teachers now, I this morning I was just researching, I saw, I think it's Ajoa, I've forgotten the name, some Ghanaian person creating educational content on YouTube, teaching maths on YouTube. So teachers also should go and begin to create content on YouTube. Invite students to come and watch the content. Is a way of also promoting your own career as a teacher, but also now solving the problem. So the building blocks are already there. All the stakeholders are rallying together now, converging to make things happen. So the future, in my opinion, is bright. Wonderful. But we shouldn't just wait for the government. In fact, I'd like to speak to the EdTech community as well. The EdTech community, like I said, there are at least like 50 startups in Ghana that have one EdTech solution or the other. But the big challenge that they also have is funding. EdTech requires money. I was asking Nana Jefi this morning about some initiatives that they were working on with UNICEF. And so how many schools? He said like 3. I said, but what's the problem? He said, well, funding is a problem. So EdTech requires funding. So I'm also calling on investors, local and international, to also begin to support the local EdTech initiatives, either through accelerator programs, through incubator programs, through investments to begin to get access to the market. The EdTech community should also come together. There's no EdTech association in Ghana that brings all the EdTech companies together. So you should create a forum where you can begin to also now pursue your common interests. We are here to support with Sendlos, with MEST, with MasterCard Foundation. We're here to support you. So let's create this forum. Let's begin to make EdTech bring it to the front burner, in the conversations in Ghana. Thank you.
Wonderful. Before we wrap it up, let's play our Vox Pop. Let's just get the thoughts and comments of other stakeholders on this topic that we are discussing. Bolstering growth for the African EdTech ecosystem, opportunities and challenges.
Assignments and track their progress. How I discovered this tech tools or apps that I've discovered to learn are ChatGPT, Google Classroom, and Ask AI. So Google Classroom is an online learning platform that allows teachers to create and assign assignments, quizzes, and other materials to students, and also helps students to submit their assignments and track their progress. How I discovered these apps were when I was in school during my tertiary level. I heard my friends talking about it, lecturers too also talking about it, like how the apps are helpful for learning and other things. So it also encouraged me to also sign up for it and then download the apps. It's helpful because it's collaborative, like it helps students to collaborate and then to share ideas. If someone don't understand something, it can just, since it's a platform, we are all on the page, so it can help students to share ideas with each other. And also, it helps students to learn at their own pace.
We use tech to learn. And it's a great way to end our conversation. This has been the August edition of EdTech Monday on City 97.3 FM. We're live on the City FM Facebook page and on MEST Africa's Facebook page as well. My name is Nathan Kwa. I moderated the session. And I had Olufemi Adeomi, Director of Programs at MEST Africa, in the studio with me. I also had Nana Jimfi Edrabo, Executive Director at the Center for Distance Learning and Open Schooling, Sendlos, and via Zoom, Kate Radford, Ghana Country Lead EdTech Hub. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate that. It was great. It was insightful. It was educative, and we'll do it again in a month.
Thank you.
And many thanks to our listeners out there. We appreciate the fact that you took time off to listen to us. Remember, EdTech Monday is part of the MasterCard Foundation's partnership with MEST Africa. Now, the two of them have come together to bring us EdTech Monday, which is every last Monday of every month, live on the City Breakfast Show, and is a platform for EdTech entrepreneurs, education stakeholders, and government reps to facilitate critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning. We'll be back with another insightful session next month. Until then, keep using tech for education.